When was the last time you've spoken?
That was when I handed my resignation to him when I was at Tesla.
How did that go?
Well, you might imagine.
Okay.
Tesla used to have the lead in electric vehicle technology. They truly were the pathfinder. There was an absolute laser focus there. And I think that now the mantle has passed to Lucid.
So yesterday I had the good fortune to partially interview a robot, which was staged over there. Today, not a robot, but in my layman's term, I'll call it an engine. But what do we have here? What are we looking at?
Well, this is the drive unit from a Lucid Air. This is the propulsion unit that takes the electrical energy from the battery and converts that into rotary motion, which powers the wheels. So we have three key elements: a motor, an inverter, and the transmission. All combined, this unit is capable of well over 600 horsepower, and it's created entirely in-house. It's mass-produced in our factory in Arizona.
So let's set the stage a little bit. The company has now been producing vehicles for, are we on year 4 now? Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yes, and since late 21. Yeah.
And the differentiation you talk about is the technology in large part. Can you help the audience explain a little bit why, when they think about EV innovation, they should be thinking about Lucid ahead of whether it's Tesla or some of the fast-growing companies out of China?
All right. Well, there's a general perception that all EVs are born equal. The gasoline cars are bad for the environment, and all EVs are good for the environment. And unfortunately, that isn't true. Just as there's a whole array of goodness within gasoline cars, or badness, and there are gas guzzlers, there are the equivalent of gas guzzler electric cars, and I term those electron guzzlers.
Okay.
And what's really important is that we recognize that, and we work assiduously to advance the state of the art of the electric vehicle. That's what Lucid's all about. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm still working like crazy, advancing the state of the art of the electric vehicle. And there's a reason for this. There are two fundamental widespread barriers to the widespread adoption of EVs. One is range anxiety, and the other is the cost of attainment.
And range anxiety, just to make that clear, is the idea that I might not be able to easily get from point A to point B.
You might not make it home, yes.
I mean, I've had that happen to some relatives. They cannot afford a Lucid, but maybe another brand. Go ahead.
So we've addressed range anxiety with when we launched our first Lucid Air Dream Edition in late 2021 with 520 miles of range.
It's a lot.
That's a lot, and I think I mean, it's still the longest range car. We still have 100 miles more range than the nearest competitor in the market today. So we've really addressed range anxiety in terms of that range. And also, we can charge 200 miles in just 12 minutes. So you could travel 700 miles in a day with just 12 minutes downtime. I think that you'd need that for other reasons rather than the limit of the car. But the other aspect, the other main barrier to widespread adoption is just the cost of attainment. And when we look at why does an electric vehicle cost so much, a large part of it is the cost of the battery. In our cars, relatively high-end cars, the battery represents...
Can you just let the audience know sort of your price range on your current vehicle?
So a Lucid starts at $69,900 with a Lucid Air Pure, and it goes right the way up to $249,000 for our supercar, the Lucid Air Sapphire.
Right in my journalist salary range.
Indeed.
Yeah, just
suits you.
Yeah, and that's after a few. The lower end is after a few price cuts in the last year. Is that correct?
Well, that's kind of misunderstood. What's happened is we've been able to bring out successively more affordable versions of the car, which has meant that we've been able to address a more attainable price point as a result of bringing those models out. So that's been a large reason for hitting the magic 69,900. Yeah.
Got it. And where are you in this evolution of trying to both keep this technology differentiation, investing in it, and also making a car that maybe more than just the 0.1% can afford? Or is that your market and you want to
No, not at all. So one of the biggest misunderstandings about Lucid is people think we're some niche luxury player, and nothing could be further from the truth. I'm not here to operate in a niche. We want to be huge. We want to be a mainstream player. We had to start with a relatively high-end product because paradoxically, the cost of industrializing a car is inversely proportional to the cost of the car.
So is that partially
strange?
I mean, so just looking at, you're a public company,
yes.
Looking at financials from last year, just to give context, around 600 million in revenue last year. Is that, am I right there? Mm-hmm. Okay, and about 3 billion in the operating loss. Am I? Mm-hmm. So is that part of what? Is that what we're talking about here?
Well, it would be worse if we tried to go with a relatively affordable car to start with. It's that bad when you go for a high-end product because the cost of a factory for a high-end car is significantly less than for a low price point car.
Why is that?
Because that's all about volume. So if you're going to make a Rolls-Royce, not many people can afford a Rolls-Royce, so the factory's pretty small. You don't need tooling that's going to be really hard and make thousands of parts, so the tooling costs can be less. You can have a lot of it hand-built. So the cost of a Rolls-Royce factory is low, but the price of a Rolls-Royce is pretty high. And conversely, if you're making a Volkswagen Golf, that's all about numbers. You need to spend zillions on a huge factory with a huge degree of automation. I would have had to, Lucid as a startup, I'd have had to raise an extra 10 billion if I were to take that route. It would have been prohibitive. I wouldn't be speaking to you now. So we had to start with a high-end product first, and this is a well-trodden path in Silicon Valley.
And so a next product that you will be starting to deliver or rolling off the line this year is an SUV. And
Yes.
I think we have a video to show. Is that correct?
Please, yes.
Okay,
Indeed.
let's see that. So let's talk about what we're watching here. This is the earliest days of, what would you call it?
Well, this is our Gravity SUV, and this is in our design studio. This is the interactive process between design, styling design, and engineering in creating a car. We still use traditional clay modeling techniques linked with a completely digital array of tools, from digital wind tunnel to digital crash analysis, for example.
So there are a lot of experts and industry analysts who believe that you need to nail this vehicle in terms of both, yes, the supply, but the demand side.
Totally.
For Lucid to have a long-term future. Is that fair?
Yeah, so our finances are really, I mean, you touched on our finances. They're dominated by scale. We need more scale, and that way we can amortize our fixed cost. And that is the route to profitability for us. And there are 4 steps to achieving scale. We need to grow the word that we've got the best car on the planet available now in the Lucid Air. More and more people are recognizing this. We've just come off record quarterly sales. We're up 70% year on year. We're bucking that EV trend. Sell more Airs, get Gravity, the SUV, into production. That's got about 6 times the total addressable market. Then we move to the big one.
What's the price point there?
Well, it's going to be from just under 80,000. So it's still relatively high end.
And is that price point related to tax credits? Or
unfortunately, it's above, the Air is above the tax credit threshold, but the lowest end version of Gravity just gets it in to the 7,500 federal tax incentive by virtue of it being an SUV.
Okay.
Yeah.
I interrupted you. You were in the midst of saying.
No, I was in full flow there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we moved to the big one, the exciting one, ladies and gentlemen. Late 26, where our mid-sized platform vehicle is scheduled for start of production. That's where we compete with Tesla Model 3 and Model Y. Price point from about $48,000, and we're designing that to be capable of 1 million units per annum.
I mean this in the most respectful way possible, is that 2026 date reality?
I believe it is. I wouldn't say so otherwise.
I also do want to field some questions from the audience, so I'll come back to you in a minute. I have to ask you about a certain person who you once worked for, and his name is Elon Musk. Over the last few years, he has taken a few opportunities to come at you in a couple of ways. One has been related to trying to minimize the role you had in the creation of the Model S. Another was at one point related to a stock compensation package you had right after, I think shortly after the IPO and the SPAC. Two questions about Elon. One is, what do you think is behind that? And then the second question is, when was the last time you talked to him?
Well, it's surprising that little Lucid has attracted so much of his attention. We must have something going on to do that. And regarding my package, which has been so misreported, the package that you're referencing was all very substantially, very high percentage in shares, and I've sold not one of those, and it was all performance based because I co-founded the company, took it public, and it was a recognition of all that good work. Yeah.
I made the journalist error of asking two questions at once, so I'll restate my second one, which was,
yes.
When was the last time you've spoken to him?
That was when I handed my resignation to him when I was at Tesla.
How did that go?
Well, you might imagine.
Okay. One more Elon-related question, because it's very newsy. In the last day or two, he has come out with a sort of full-fledged support of former President Trump in his re-election campaign. He has also, there's reports that he is now, I guess, giving $45 million a month to a Trump-associated PAC. I'm curious, there are some Tesla customers who may be fine with that or like that, others not so much. I'm curious if you see any impact on your business potentially from Elon stepping into politics in a big way.
Well, I think this is another salient example of his level of distraction. Tesla used to have the lead in electric vehicle technology. They truly were the pathfinder. There was an absolute laser focus there. And I think that now the mantle has passed to Lucid. Just this morning, we formally announced a landmark, a technological landmark, that we were able to achieve 5.0 miles per kilowatt hour for an electric vehicle. This is a major step forward in saving the planet. This is the most efficient use of energy achieved by any electric vehicle. We've registered also a record 146 mpge, and these are not claims by Lucid, these are validated by the Environmental Protection Agency. And this puts Lucid at least 4 years ahead of Tesla in what I think is a critical technology race to help save the environment.
Do we have any questions from the audience? I have a few more. I saw one back here first. Please just tell us who you are and try to keep it concise if possible.
Venk Vardhan, co-founder and CEO of Nanoware. Jason, you touched upon it in the beginning, and Peter, you were just ending on it. Your discussions with regulators in DC in this space with transportation, not only the Department of Transportation, but also Congress, how has that evolved? Because they have to be your partners in this. And is that 2035 goal, Jason, that you touched upon, having discussions in DC on a federal level?
Totally. I'm actually headed towards DC next week because I see a responsibility from someone like myself to help guide the knowledge of the EV space, because the decision makers, they're making decisions which will last potentially a generation or more. They need the wisdom of Solomon, and it's very difficult for them to get their heads around this weird and wacky world of EVs. So I'm delighted that we can play our small parts in providing technical data so that their decisions can be based upon facts and best evidence.
Does another Trump administration potentially help or hurt your vision for Lucid?
Look, I'm politically agnostic. My vision is to really accelerate the uptake of not just sustainable EVs, but the EVs which are affordable via their sustainability. And this is critical. This isn't just chasing the semantics of a technical solution with technical excellence. If we can build EVs which go further with less batteries, we go to the very heart of the main barrier for EV adoption, the cost of the battery. And that's what my focus is, not politics.
I'm going to come to you in 1 second. I do have one more question. You are a public company, but you are 60% or more owned by the Saudi Arabia Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Yes.
They've invested more than $6 billion in your company.
Yes. Yeah.
I think you have enough cash right now to sustain the company through middle of next year.
That's right.
Is that correct?
Yes.
What kind of guarantees do you have from them that they won't walk away at a certain point and go to plan B?
First of all, they have been the perfect partner, long term, and this partnership transcends a mere financial investment because we're in this together, long term. They have a vision for their country and it's a bold vision, to transition their country away from fossil fuels to a sustainable economy for 2030. We're a cornerstone of that. We're in this together.
So you don't fear them walking away?
They want our cars as much as we want them. Maybe almost as much as I want to do this. We're in this together. Now, I can't make promises for them, absolutely not, and it would be very imprudent for me to do that. But to date, they have been wonderful and outstanding and strong long-term partners with a shared vision.
Let's try one more quick question here. We have about a minute.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. I'm a co-founder, CFO of the next-gen battery company. And two questions. One is, I heard because of the more and more harsh competition for the price, particularly with the Chinese EV makers, nowadays car OEMs are more interested in cheaper battery rather than high energy density battery that was very popular 3-4 years ago, if it's true or not. And secondly, unlike all solid-state battery or lithium metal battery that may or may not take 10 to 15 years for the commercialization, what if you have the battery with high energy density, high power density, with safer features, with a cheap price and mass production feasibility within 2-3 years? Is it your interest or not?
Well, of course, that's a panacea. Is it my interest? It's music to my ears. So we have to trade multiple attributes: cost, gravimetric energy density, and just the scalability of that. Our technology, our advancements, works with high energy batteries or low energy. It's equally applicable.
We're out of time. Thank you so much. Thank you for the great questions as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the discussion.